Hey everyone, Chris here with Backyard Pitmaster. Today we're going to be making some pork belly burnt ends. The pork belly comes from the belly of the hog. It's actually where bacon comes from. All bacon is just cured pork belly that's been sliced really, really thin. Now, if done well, these will be tender, they'll be juicy, they'll be super sweet and sticky with just a little bit of a spice. You know, I love making them because these have become really, really popular with my customers. And out here in San Diego, you cannot find these anywhere at any barbecue restaurant. So, you know, stick around. We're gonna go ahead and go through this process and, you know, let's do this. All right, so what we have here is about an 11-pound slab of the pork belly. You can see the nice fat marbling and the, you know, here you can actually see the strips. This should look a little bit like what your bacon looks like when it's sliced really thin. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start by cutting strips. And really what we're looking to do is just cut cubes to make cubes out of these. So the way that I do it is I just cut nice long strips that are about 1.5 inches or so, maybe up to 2 inches wide. Okay. Let's kind of get through some of this fat here. So you can take a look at that. That would be exactly what a slice of bacon would look like. Okay, so just go ahead and cut this into strips all the way through. All right, so now that these have all been cut into strips, I'm gonna start cutting them into cubes, and then I'm gonna just dump them in this bowl over here. The reason I dump them in the bowl, the cubes in the bowl, is because it'll make it easier for me to just go ahead and apply the dry rub. So I'm just gonna take them and just kind of cube them off now. Okay, so now we just have a nice little pork belly cube. Dump that in there. Now, the reason I'm making these so thick is because a lot of this fat is going to render out during the cook process, and they're going to shrink. With pork belly, you get about a 50% yield. So if you're starting with an 11-pound pork belly, you're going to wind up probably with about 5.5 pounds of edible product at the very end of this. So that's part of the reason I'm making these so thick. I've made them really thin before, and they just came out looking super tiny. And, you know, when I talked to my customers a little bit, they were like, yeah, these taste great, but if they were a little bit thicker, they'd be easier to kind of grab a hold of. And I agreed, so we're making these a little bit thicker today. Okay, so that's it. Just slice them up into cubes. All right, so you can see the pork belly has been all cut up into cubes. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my dry rub. For my dry rub today, I'm using just a basic seasoning salt just to add a little bit of saltiness to it. I don't want a lot, just a little bit. Go ahead and dump that into the bowl here. Okay, just a little bit. And then I'm using my other dry rub, which consists of a mixture of some chili powder, some brown sugar, some white sugar, some rosemary, onion, garlic, and black pepper. And then once I get the dry rub added in, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of mix it into the bowl. Just kind of grab a little bit from the bottom and pull the bottom up. I want to try and make sure all sides are coated as evenly as I can. So if I need to add more, I can. I just find this process to be a little bit easier. Most people, what they do is they literally season every single side of the cube, and that just seems like it adds a lot of excuse me, seems like it adds a lot of time to the process. So I like to be a little more efficient and just sort of add the dry rub directly into the bowl and then go ahead and mix this up. So, and you can see we're starting to get a little more even distribution of the dry rubs all over the pork belly here. So again, if I need to add a little more, I can. We have the technology. All right, so you can see that we've got in our pork belly here, we've got them all nice and kind of mixed up. All sides are coated with rub, so that looks good. So next what we're gonna do, or what I'm gonna do, is go ahead and add them on. I've got this nice little Weber kind of rack that's designed for grilling vegetables or shrimp or basically smaller cuts of meat. So what I like to do is actually stack these on here. The reason that I put them on this rack is to make them easier to transport, B, easier to actually get on the smoker. So instead of having to put all of these one at a time on the smoker grates, I can just instead kind of stack them up onto the rack, and then I can get them all on and all off at once. And then C, you know, some of these are going to shrink pretty small, and they'll run the risk of actually falling through the grate. So by putting them on such a small rack like this, it helps kind of mitigate that risk. So you can just see I'm just kind of stacking them up. I'm spacing them a little bit apart just to make sure that we can get nice even smoke all the way through them. So that's it. Next step, we will actually get these into the smoker. All right, so the smoker is now up to temperature. We're gonna go ahead and put these in the cooker to get them softened up. They're in the smoker for about 2 hours, and then we're going to continue our process. All right, so these have been smoking for about 2 hours, so we're gonna go ahead and pop open the lid and take a look. All right, yeah, look at that color. Look at that. You can see the rub is really kind of solidifying. You can see I'm running 2 racks right here, so you can see the rack that was showed in the video earlier. So we're gonna go ahead and pull these off and then get on to the next part of this cook. All right, so now that these have been smoked, we're getting ready to get on to the next part of the process. So you can see they've got really good smoke color. They are still a little on the firm side though, which is perfectly fine. They taste delicious just like this, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna put these in a pan, and then we're going to add some additional ingredients to really build in some additional layers of flavor with these. Okay, so we've got all of the cubes in the pan. Next, we're going to add some brown sugar to the mix. So all I'm doing is taking a little bit of brown sugar, and I'm just gonna cover it. What this is gonna do, this brown sugar is going to melt, kind of liquefy a bit, and help build an extra layer of flavor. So I'm adding a little bit of brown sugar. Let's go ahead and add a little more because the bag's almost empty anyway. Okay. All right, so we did that. And then we're going to add a little bit of honey. Just help enhance a different kind of sweetness. Don't need a lot, just enough to just kind of get on there. Okay. All right, so there we go. And then the last thing I want to do is I've got some sliced butter cube or some butter slices over here, so I'm gonna just go ahead and stack these. Add these sliced cubes of butter to the mix. Yep, just one stick of butter just to add these little slices to it. Now the butter just helps add a little more fat and richness. So our next step is to wrap these up in foil, and then we're going to put them back out on the smoker. The foil is going to really help tenderize. It's going to help keep the moisture in and really help tenderize the pork bellies. There's little pork belly burnt ends. So we're going to put it back out on the smoker for about an hour. Alright, so they've been going for about an hour, so we're going to go ahead and take a look. Let's peel back the foil a little bit, look at the tenderness. Look at all the juice down there that's kind of created. And look at that. I think they could be a little more, tender. So we're going to let them go just a little bit longer. We'll check in about 30 minutes. Alright, so we actually left them covered for about 2 hours, and you can see how kind of nice and tender they are now. Definitely a little more squishy and bouncy. So we're going to go ahead and finish up this cook process here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these and just kind of spread them out on my Weber rack here. Okay. Alright, and then the next thing I'm going to do, just kind of nice and spread them out. I put the cookie sheet under it to kind of help contain the mess. But then the next thing I'm going to do is I have here is kind of a finishing glaze, which is a mix of half a cup of barbecue sauce, half a cup of apple cider vinegar, and then a quarter of the cup of the juice that came out of the container after I had smoked these, after they were wrapped with the foil. So I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of this over it. We don't need a lot, just a little bit. Just enough to get a little bit of sauce and give it a little bit of a glisten. Okay. All right. Okay, now I'm just going to kind of toss them in the sauce a little bit. Just get it coated on all sides. Okay, and now that they're all coated, we're going to go ahead and put it back on the smoker for about 10 minutes so that the sauce, this finishing sauce, can set up. Okay. Alright, it's been 10 minutes, so let's take a look. Yeah, look at how that flavor has set. They're nice and sticky on the outside. These are going to be delicious. We're going to go ahead and pull these off. Let them cool and then dig in. Alright, so we're here with the First Lady of Backyard Pitmaster. This is my beautiful girl Mel. And she's going to go ahead and be the guinea pig here and give these a shot. So you can see they've kind of rested just a little bit. So go ahead, babe, pick your favorite.
Any particular one?
Nope, just take which one you want.
Okay, we'll go with this one.
Okay, now you're committed. Let's get this instant real-time reaction.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go. Does that work for you?
Yeah, it's what I like about it is it's both tender yet still like has a little bit of firmness to it, so it still has its shape. I feel like a lot of times with burnt ends, it could have this tendency to just feel like mush in your mouth, but it's not like that at all.
Okay.
This is really good.
How's the flavor?
Good. Yeah, the sauce on the outside like isn't overpowering. Like it's there, you can taste it, but you can still taste the meat too. It's not like all you're getting is sauce.
Good smokiness?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A little bit of bite from the cayenne at all? Noticeable?
No, not really.
Not too bad?
But I'm not super
You're not a
sensitive.
sissy? Yeah, you're not a sissy like I am when it comes to heat?
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
I was going to say it, but yeah.
Alright guys, well there you have it. Those are the pork belly burnt ends. So feel free to give it a try and reach out, let me know. You can email me at chris@backyardpitmaster.net and I will happily help you out.